Hi, my name is Ann Ernst, and I'm the editor of Cupertino Patch. Welcome to Patchcast.
Hi, I'm Claudia Cruz, editor of Mountain View Patch, and welcome to Patchcast.
Hello, and welcome to Patchcast. My name is L.A. Chung, and I am the editor of Los Altos Patch.
Patch is a national network of more than 850 hyper-local news websites that provide community resources and information as well. Here in the Bay Area, we bring you news from the communities of Cupertino, Los Altos, and Mountain View. Welcome to Patchcast. West Valley Presbyterian Church has announced that they are opening they're calling it the Crash Zone. It's an after-school program for middle school students. It's free to the community, and it will be offered Tuesdays through Thursdays from 3 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. They have seen the need for low or no cost childcare services, especially for middle schoolers. They will have adult volunteers on hand who will help the kids with their homework, anything from writing essays to math homework, any other homework that they've got. And they're taking registrations right now. So that's West Valley Presbyterian Church in Cupertino. There is a new music store in Cupertino called Crossroads Music. However, it's not located at Cupertino Crossroads Shopping Center. It's on De Anza, and it opened June 23rd, and it's owned and run by 3 Cupertino natives who all graduated from Cupertino High School. So it's great that they've come back home and they're providing this service to the community. It is run by a married couple, Darren Anderson and Christina Sablin, and their longtime friend Scott Kolodziski. They provide guitars, amplifiers, brass instruments, and things like didgeridoos. And another thing that they're really proud of offering is one-on-one tutoring services, piano lessons, whatever kind of services, music classes that you can think of. And they have something that, from what I understand, is pretty difficult to find in the Bay Area, but sheet music. So they're offering that as well. Let's see. They're all musicians too, and you can find more information about them on Cupertino Patch. Ken Siegel, who is one of the masterminds behind why we call the iMac, who worked with Steve Jobs and the advertising group to come up with things like the iMac. He has written a book called Insanely Simple. And in his book, he tells several stories about his longtime experiences in hashing out things with Steve Jobs. He holds nothing back. He tells the stories of how Steve Jobs could be almost on the side of being cruel, but then how he could also be very kind and caring toward his colleagues as well. He was in town at the Computer History Museum in Mountain View recently, where he had a one-on-one conversation with Harry McCracken from Time magazine. Members of the audience were also asked to participate, and they gave him some questions and things like that, but he told some very funny stories. One of the stories was how the iMac came to be called the iMac. Steve Jobs was really pushing hard for it to be called MacMan. And the way that Ken Siegel tells the story, it's like he came in, they had a list of 5 names for the new computer, and of them, iMac was one of them. Steve Jobs told him, no, I don't like any of them. He hated all of them. Go away, come back and bring me some more ideas. They went away, they came back with some more ideas, and they slipped in iMac in there again. Steve Jobs again says, no, hate it. So they tried a 3rd time. Came back, and this time Steve Jobs said, okay, this time I don't hate it, but I still don't like it. So a few days later, Ken Siegel found out that Steve Jobs was walking around the office showing off the new computer with the iMac name silk-screened on there. So without ever telling Ken Siegel that he liked the name, it wound up being the iMac, and it's kind of spawned a whole branding line from there with the iPod and the iPad coming after that. But perhaps the favorite story from the audience that Ken Siegel told was the one of the iconic ad that really kind of spawned people falling in love with Apple. I mean, I think a lot of it came from the advertising, and it was the advertising with Here's to the Crazy Ones. It ended up being Richard Dreyfuss who did the voiceover on the commercial, but they initially thought that Steve Jobs should do the commercial, but He didn't like the way his voice sounded. He didn't think that he should be interjecting himself into the ad that much. So they tried some other people. They tried to get Robin Williams, but Robin Williams wasn't available or wouldn't do it. So Steve Jobs thought that Phyllis Diller has an interesting voice, so he suggested to Ken Siegel to invite Phyllis Diller to come in and do a voiceover, a test run. So they sat down with her and they kind of told her their ideas, and she came out in true Phyllis Diller sound and personality, and she started it with, "Here's to the crazy ones!" And they kind of went, whoa, 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 this is not going to work. Came back in and had a little talk with her, asked her to kind of tone it down. So she said, okay, I'll try it again. Second take, "Here's to the crazy ones!" She did it all over again. So Ken goes out, talks to her, and he says, maybe if you tried whispering it. And she says, I'm not a whispering kind of gal. He says, yeah, I know, but I think that it'll show off your voice a little bit more, and, we'll get into the spirit of it a little bit more. So she says, okay, I'll give it a try. Third take, "Here's to the crazy ones!" So, needless to say, they gave up on Phyllis Diller and moved on, and thankfully Richard Dreyfuss has given us his take on Here's to the Crazy Ones. Next up is this young man here. His name is Anand Sanyana. He is one of 10 finalists in the 3M Young Scientist Challenge. He will go up for the final round in this competition in October in Milwaukee, I believe it is. He went to Challenger School in Sunnyvale, and now he's going on to Bellarmine High School. But he has created a cancer-targeting drug therapy treatment delivery system using nanocarbon material to deliver cancer treatment to patients who are relapse patients. He's only 13 years old, so who knows what we're going to see out of this young man in the future. I mean, he's already coming up with these great ideas now. He does plan on entering some more science fairs. His hope when he gets older is to go on to do something in neuroscience. And we're just very proud to have somebody like him. He's our Whiz Kid of the Week for Cupertino. So you can even watch this young man's video that was part of his project presentation. It's about 2 minutes long, and in it he describes the treatment therapy and the process of targeting the drugs. So please take a look at it, and you'll enjoy learning something from a 13-year-old.
According to the World Health Organization, cancer is a disease that is responsible for over 13% of the worldwide yearly deaths. Although there are many ways to treat cancer, in many cases, a relapse of the tumor occurs due to a certain type of self-renewing chemotherapy-resistant cancer cell called cancer stem cells. My research project is aimed at targeted drug delivery to cancer stem cells using carbon nanotubes conjugated with the anti-CD133 antibody, carrying a chemotherapy drug and imatinib. For my procedure, I grew lymphocytic leukemia mouse cells in flasks, identified cancer stem cells through flow cytometry, checked for chemotherapy resistance of these cells, and treated the cancer stem cells with my novel configuration of carbon nanotubes. My results showed that in all 4 tests that I ran, the entire carbon nanotube configuration worked the best, killing 100% of the cells. In all the other controls for all of the tests, less than 20% of the cells died. The reason for chemotherapy resistance of cancer stem cells is a membrane transporter protein called ABCG2, which significantly reduces intracellular concentrations of the chemotherapy drug. However, when the carbon nanotubes conjugated with the anti-CD133 antibody carrying imatinib along with ethidium bromide binds to the CD133 expressing cell, the nanotube is swallowed through the cell's permeable membrane. The drugs, loaded into the high-capacity nanotube, are released into the cytoplasm. At an intracellular level, the imatinib suppresses ABCG2 by binding to it, allowing the ethidium bromide to act, destroying the DNA of the cell. This novel method, which targets cancer stem cells, could possibly provide a way to treat relapses of cancer.
And that's all that I have for you this week. Thanks for coming to see Patchcast.
Bikes worth $17,200 were stolen from a garage on the 300 block of Central Avenue Sunday night, according to the Mountain View Police Department. The victim, female victim, had gone out of town with 2 of the 6 bikes she owned. Then when she returned, found 4 of these bikes missing. She does recall locking the garage door. However, there are other people who have access to the same garage. According to the Mountain View Police Department, there were 2 light blue Ellsworth bikes worth $5,000 each, 1 black Canfield Brothers bike worth $5,000, and 1 felt bike worth $1,200. The Mountain View Police Department's officers and detectives are actively searching online sites like Craigslist and eBay to see if there has been any potential sale of these bikes after they've been reported missing. Mountain View Patch will follow up with the story and keep you updated. Also in police news, that last week the police department arrested Rafael Marrero, 25-year-old man from Los Angeles, California, who was at the Best Western on El Camino Real near the corner of Ortega Avenue after he allegedly exposed himself to a cleaning woman and began to masturbate in her presence. After the woman walked in the room where he was at, he left. She got on the phone, but had visual image of Marrero and saw him get on a VTA, I believe it was westbound bus towards Palo Alto. So the Mountain View Police Department was already en route and was able to locate the bus with the suspect inside. So he has been arrested for indecent exposure, and we will follow up with that as the case continues in the courtroom. Mayor Appliance, a 40-year-old business on Castro, has now moved to a new location at 861 El Camino Real near the Dale Avenue Street, so closer to the Sunnyvale border. According to one of the partners at Mayor Appliance, the company is doing fine. They just sought more parking space and a larger showroom. The previous location at 289 Castro was split between 2 levels, and customers had a harder time just really experiencing the space, and they wanted to just bring everything to one floor. Another change in that location is that now Mystique Boutique, which is part of the same building structure, coincidentally, the owner announced that she will also be retiring. So now there will be 2 vacant storefronts in that area. According to our Patch reporting, the last day of Mystique's presence on Castro Street will be September 28th, and we bid the owner a good, healthy retirement. According to the realtor of the space, I believe 289 Castro Street, it will now house a startup company, which is possibly, which according to the owners of Mayor Appliance is actually probably a better use of the space, because already on the 2nd and 3rd floors there are other offices, including that of soon-to-be or no longer Assemblyman for Mountain View, Mr. Paul Fong, who's on the 3rd floor of that building. So there are already existing office spaces, but now the area where Mayor Appliance will now also join that thriving startup community in downtown Mountain View. The groundbreaking for El Camino was celebrated on Monday, August 7th in San Bruno, where it was kicked off. And we look forward to bringing you more history of El Camino as it not just moved on the peninsula, and definitely through our city of Mountain View, where it spans possibly 1.5 miles from end to end, Palo Alto, all the way to our neighbor Sunnyvale. And also bring you more news about what's going on with the Grand Boulevard Initiative, which is an effort to revitalize the El Camino corridor. So stay tuned. One of the things that has been said about El Camino is that it also paved the road for some of the innovation that began to occur in the southern part of the peninsula in the South Bay. Part of that innovation is revolutionary things that have been created in this area, including now a Litro camera. Litro, which is actually located right off Tarabella Avenue here near KMVT Studios, has created a small 1.5 by 1.5 inch camera, possibly, I believe about 3.5 inches in length, and it's revolutionary because you do not have to focus before you shoot the picture image. You can focus afterwards once you have the image on your computer. And according to people who follow the light field photography concepts, that is a very revolutionary thing. Also, because light field photography allows light to come in from all different directions, it already takes images in 3D, and that's something that is new. No other still camera has been able to take images in 3D and allow the public to do so. Well, Mountain View Patch attended an event a few weeks ago, so take a peek.
Great, okay. So my name's Kristen. I'm a product manager at Litro. So the thing to know about Litro is that we capture the full light field. So it's different than your conventional cameras, which are capturing a 2D data set. Litro is capturing the full 3D data set, which is the full light field. So what's a light field? Light field is all of the light traveling in space at every direction. So basically a lot of light. And the goal here, because we're capturing all the light, is that we can do things with the data that you couldn't do, conventional cameras can never do before. So you're probably familiar with the refocus capability, which is the first light field capability that we've launched. And this is the camera. Mm-hmm. So
It's okay.
okay.
Yeah.
It's an 8x optical zoom. There are 2 buttons. So very simple to use. You have it out. People can just take it, pick it up, and your friends who don't know anything about DSLRs or anything about cameras or photography can take a picture, right? So that's huge in and of itself. 2 buttons, on and off, and then everything else happens on the touchscreen in the back. So we can do a little bit of a demo here, showing again how we're capturing the full light field so that you can refocus after you take the picture. So just hold that glass out like this. Exactly, yeah. And I'm gonna get close to you and then we're gonna shoot away. We'll go like that. Nice. So in a traditional camera, you can only get one of those things in focus, right? You can only get the glass and the drink or you. And you have to actually set that before you take it, right? And sometimes you have to half press and it takes a second and then you miss the moment. So the Litro camera, very different. You don't have to choose where you want to focus before you take it. You do that after. And we call it playing because you don't really even have to do it. All the pictures are immersive. So on the camera, your drink is in focus, like who's that in the background? And then you come into focus. And you can even go farther into the background, check out what they're serving at the bar, and boom. So the goal here is just, we have now immersive picture taking. So not only don't you have to think about focus, but it's a very playful experience. You can play with them on your desktop, on your mobile phone, on the web, on Facebook. And that's one of the things is if you post it on Facebook, your friends can click, refocus a picture that you've taken 5 years ago.
Part of the innovation in Silicon Valley also comes with a price, and sometimes that price is a little competitive. This week, it had been announced that Apple was planning to remove some of Google's features from its iPhone operating system, but this week it's become more apparent which of those applications that might be. That includes Google Maps, Google YouTube, and there is some speculation that that might also include Google Search. So for all those iPhone users who depend on Google products on the iPhone and iPad, you may have to look for those things someplace else. According to Apple, it is probably developing its own mapping system, which will be announced in its next conference, usually scheduled for the upcoming fall. So thank you to the crew and staff of KMVT for another week, allowing us to help bring you the news here in the South Bay to the communities of Los Altos, Cupertino, and Mountain View. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
In Los Altos news, the biggest event, I have to say, for this past week has been the opening of Dittmer's. And I feel a little bit obligated to always say the beloved Dittmers, because this gourmet meat company has been in Mountain View since 1978. When they experienced a catastrophic fire in January 2011, everyone from Los Altos to Palo Alto to, no doubt, San Jose, all around, were just bereft because they didn't know where they were going to get their bacon, their wursts, their meats, their tri-tips, because as I understand, Dittmer's was almost without any kind of competition whatsoever in this area. So people went through a very, very long time without their gourmet meats. Dittmer's found a new location on the Los Altos side of El Camino Real and San Antonio Road. Still in the same area, but the new facility is bright, it's clean, it's bigger, and there's beautiful display. So when Dittmer's was ready to open this morning, there were people at the front door just waiting for the door to open. Dittmer was shaking hands with everyone who came in. I talked to him a little bit, and he said yes, he got many hugs, as did his wife, his daughter, and his son. Of course, if you may know about anything about Dittmer's, daughter Petra is the soul of Dittmer's, and she had pretty much supervised and collaborated with the construction company that redid Dittmer's, reimagined it anew in its Los Altos location. Mark has been making the rounds all over. Everyone knows that Dittmer's was ready to open in Los Altos, and his wife Marguerite has been presiding over the facility just beautifully. And by the way, just for those of you who like to go and get free samples, Dittmer's definitely had little chunks of sausage that were just absolutely wonderful. They were sampling Sheboygan's, Cajun-style hot link. There was a chicken sausage of some sort, and there was the Hanover wurst, which was absolutely fabulous. So pay them a visit because I think they're going to be selling things as fast as I can make them there. Well, this being summertime, of course, the housing market has been quite active and very hot. Among the hot properties that sold this summer, just at the end of July, was the home of John Chambers, the Cisco CEO, who lived in Los Altos Hills on Via Feliz for a very long time. He moved over to the Palo Alto foothills earlier and put his home on the market in Los Altos Hills just this past June. It sold rather quickly. The asking price was $14.8 million. The price has been undisclosed, but we know that the buyer was Duan Yongping, who is sometimes described as being the Chinese Warren Buffett. He made his money in electronics in China, and then came to this country, started investing in tech, and has also been quite a philanthropist, both to his alma mater in Renmin University and Zhejiang University, as well as his wife's alma mater at Ohio University. He's also given to Stanford University School of Engineering to help young Chinese engineering students, along the way. So he's someone who was interested in Palo Alto schools and remains interested in that. I think having John Chambers' home may be hopefully rub off a little bit more luck, but it doesn't seem like he needs a lot more luck. He came to, I think, attention in the Western media because he had bid a tremendous amount of money for the through a Glide Foundation lunch with Warren Buffett, where he could talk to the genius in investing himself over a 3-hour lunch in New York City. Since then, other investors have bid far more than Duan Yongping, but that's how he first came to our attention here in the West. Other news, since it has been a quiet July, it's now kicked up a little bit of action on the Bullis Charter School front. You may be aware that there is an August 15th hearing in Santa Clara County Superior Court having to do with the facilities request for 2012-2013. The charter school has a ruling in its favor back from October 2011, and they want the Superior Court to require, compel the Los Altos School District to give it more space, not only for 2012-2013, but also in 2013-2014 to compel it to give it a school campus. That its program needs to be on one single campus, and it can only be done by closing a Los Altos School District school and giving that over to Bullis Charter School. Earlier, at the end of July, a parents group formed a nonprofit, and they applied for a friend of the court status, saying that we have an interest, we will be affected by this, and so we would like to file a brief that describes our points that the court should consider in making its decision. Well, this was followed this week by not one but two more applications for a friend of the court brief, two statewide organizations who said that they too have an interest in what happens between the Bullis Charter School and the Los Altos School District in terms of any kind of precedent. These are statewide organizations, so this case is being watched very closely across the state, it's fair to say. The first friend of the court application came from the Association of California School Administrators, and these are school leaders who have to balance all the interests in trying to allocate space to charter schools that might be in their district, and of course in having to look out for their own school districts in a balanced and fair way to all public school children. The second organization, also a statewide organization, is called the California School Boards Association, and this of course supports public school boards across the state. They too are quite worried about, I think, the individual discretion of school boards to make decisions on behalf of public school children, and they mean public school children, both district children and charter school children, trying to take a balanced and fair approach so that everyone is sharing. So what they are saying is that we have an interest in what happens between the Los Altos School District and the Bullis Charter School in this decision, because whatever happens here may affect other charter schools will be asking for something similar, and so we want to make sure that all interests are being considered on behalf of the children of public schools. So stay tuned, we expect more. I'd like to end my segment of Los Altos News on a tribute note, and this is to Marine First Lieutenant Todd Laurel. Todd Laurel was a Los Altos resident. He was a Bellarmine Prep graduate and a USC graduate. He was a Marine officer, and he was killed on August 1st in Joshua Tree, California, out in the Mojave Desert. His friends held a memorial barbecue for him down in Southern California, where he'd gone to school, because they were originally going to have a party for him because he was set to be deployed for Afghanistan before this tragedy occurred. The Marine hit a semi-truck in the wee hours of the morning. His body came home to San Jose Airport, where it was escorted by the Marines and was met by the San Jose Police, the Santa Clara County Sheriffs, and a very large contingent of the Patriot Guard. For those of you who have never seen a Marine Color Guard take the remains of a soldier, it's a very moving ceremony. There are no words spoken, but it speaks volumes all the same for how our military receives its dead. I'm leaving you with a few images from that. The friends and family, of course, will be saying goodbye to him as time comes on Thursday. Thanks a lot from Patch.